Welcome to the Real Estate Show with your real estate and mortgaging team, Terry Kilakos and Merav Marciano on CJAD 800.
Good afternoon, everyone. You're listening to The Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Terry Kilakos, chartered real estate and mortgage broker, as well as president and founder of Northeast Real Estate and Mortgage Agency. And today we're continuing our discussion from last week about condos. And this show, we're going to be talking, we're going to be taking a deeper look at new construction condos. So this is something that's becoming more and more popular, and we're going to actually be answering a couple of the questions that you guys had from last week, which I said I was going to come back to this week. Joining me, we have my beautiful wife, co-host, partner, life partner, business partner, all of the above, Merav Marciano, chartered real estate and mortgage broker and vice president extraordinaire, super extraordinaire, I'm going to say.
Thank you.
Of Northeast.
What an intro. Wow.
If you guys haven't realized, I'm trying to suck up here. For any questions, feel free to reach us during the week at the office at 514-680-4674, or you can visit us online at www.nordest.ca. You can also visit us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/northeastmortgages. And if you haven't done so, please don't forget to do this. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is newsonthego.ca, where all these shows live. And you can get to see all the fun and exciting stuff that happens behind the scenes, especially when Merav starts yelling at me during the commercial breaks.
Aw, that's not nice. I don't yell. I just, I'm passionate about my opinion.
Yeah, very passionate sometimes. Sometimes she beats me. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
Quick market update.
Yeah, before we kick off the show, you see, she just gave me like a fist in the air. No. Before we kick off the show, we'll do a little bit of a market update. There's some news this week. So the federal government is going to be boosting the first-time home buyers incentive coming 2021. The first-time home buyers incentive was actually introduced in 2019. The maximum home price to be eligible was 4 times household income, but that's going to be going up to 4.5 times household income in the spring of 2021, which means that the buyer's income threshold is being raised from 120 to 150,000. So that means if your household income is greater than 150, you don't qualify for the program, but if it's below that, then you actually do. The changes means that the maximum home price eligible for first-time buyers in the 3 markets goes from $505,000 to $722,000. So, I think that's kind of good news. For everyone that's been listening to the show a long time, you guys know that I'm not a huge fan of the first-time home buyers incentive. The government had earmarked a whole lot of money for the program, and nobody really bought into it. Nobody actually did it. Nobody wants the government to be their business partner in their real estate transaction.
Yeah, because it is an equity share that you're giving up or you're sharing with the government.
Exactly.
So it's not free money. It is a loan.
Yeah.
And you have to give back that amount plus the appreciation of the property.
Exactly.
So, and it makes sense to me that they actually raised the amount of the value of the home that you can finance, because we've seen with COVID, home prices went up like crazy. So I think they sort of had to do that because at 500,000 in Toronto and in Vancouver, it's not very easy to find a property at that price.
Slim to no chance.
Yeah,
exactly. you look at we've done a few mortgages in Ontario. I could tell you one of the most recent ones that we had done, is a $1.6 million home. And when I saw the MLS listing, I was like, oh my God, $1.6 million. The house was nice.
Yeah, it doesn't buy you much.
But it was like, it was a simple home. Like, it wasn't anything. It was something that probably would have sold here for maybe 600,000 or 650,000. Yeah. So I think that it was it's good what the government did. I'm glad that they actually raised that, because it is going to help certain people. Just kind of to talk a little bit about the first-time homebuyers incentive, new constructions, which we're going to be talking about today. With the incentive, you're eligible to get 10%, right?
Yeah.
So you put down 5, the government kicks in another 10%, and now you have a 15% down payment on the purchase, which does help some people. It does shave off some of the expense, if you will. But again, don't forget, when it comes time to sell this property, or 25 years from now when it expires, you're going to have to pay the government back that money plus any increase that has occurred in the home based on their percentage.
Yeah. So basically, you're going to have to pay back the government 10% of the new value.
Exactly. The other little bit of information, and you might want to touch on this, Merav, what's going on with the federal government? Okay, so they're talking about taxing now.
Well, they gave out a bunch of money now. Time to recoup. Basically, they're also talking about implementing a foreign buyers tax at some point next year. It was a very vague thing that was brought up, and no details were mentioned about that. But really, everybody's speculating right now. Is it going to be only on vacant properties? Is it going to be on certain types of properties? And people are getting worried because in some markets, especially in the downtown core of Vancouver, Toronto, they live off of these foreign buyers. So definitely people are concerned. They're looking forward to seeing the details about that, and hopefully they're going to be reasonable.
I don't, on a little bit of a side note, I don't disagree with, taxing these types of investors, if you will. A lot of people come to Canada from other countries, and what they'll basically do is they're going to buy condos, and we see it in downtown Montreal, we see it in Vancouver, we see it in Toronto. They come in and they'll literally buy out an entire floor of a building, and when they do that, they literally leave it vacant. There's no people that move into it. There's nothing that's actually it doesn't contribute in any way, shape, or form to the economy. It's great for the builders because they're selling their units. But these condos end up being empty, and it's not good as far as I'm concerned, because the whole purpose of building and creating homes in downtown cores and stuff like that is to actually bring people into the city. It's to bring business in, right? This is what retail shops count on, right? So if all of a sudden, you end up having these properties that are completely vacant, it ends up causing a lot of issues. The other thing that I wanted to talk about really quick is we had a question about how much of the condo fees should be going to the contingency fund. And I actually had one of my clients call me and he said it's 5%. So I just wanted to answer that question, which came up last week. That's what the government sets as a standard. But I do want to talk a little bit more about it after traffic, because there's more to that story than kind of meets the eye. Now we're off to the CJAD Traffic Center.
You're listening to The Real Estate Show with your real estate and mortgaging team, Terry Kilakos and Merav Marciano on CJAD 800.
You're listening to The Real Estate Show, and today we're talking about new construction condos and what it is that you need to know. You can call us at the office during the week at 514-680-4674, or you could visit us online at nordest.ca, or of course you can visit us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Northeast Mortgages. Before we went to traffic, we started touching a little bit on the 5% on the condo fees, which was a question that came up a couple of times actually during last week's show. So I got a call from one of my clients who is an administrator of a condo association, and he mentioned to me that it's 5% that goes into it. Now, the thing that's important to remember, right? So everyone looks for low condo fees,
yes,
right? And this is part of the discussion that I was having with this condo administrator. But unfortunately, low condo fees, what that translates to is
low contingency fund.
Fund. And what happens is, when a roof needs to be redone, the bricks need to be redone, when stuff needs to be done in the building, that's what the contingency fund is there for. But unfortunately, because people are cheap, okay, and I've said it before, they don't want to spend the extra $20, $30 a month, these contingency funds gets depleted, and then all of a sudden you end up having special assessments that occur.
Yes, and we've seen it in certain condo buildings where the condo association gets together, they vote against doing a repair because nobody wants to spend the money, and then that repair basically becomes exponentially bad, and then when it comes time to fix it, it becomes 10 times the original price that they were supposed to spend, and now it triggers a special assessment which they have to vote on and agree on. But sometimes it's literally you have no choice, and you end up having roofs that are collapsing, elevator shafts that are not working, like major damages that you could have avoided had you spent 10% of this amount just keeping the maintenance.
Exactly. The other part of it is you want to make sure that your condo association is actually increasing condo fees annually at the rate of inflation. If they're not increasing them annually at the rate of inflation, what ends up happening is every 3-4 years, you end up having a special meeting to increase condo fees, and it ends up causing all these delays. Now, if you just do it from the get-go, now all of a sudden it ends up, again, feeding into that contingency fund, and you're good to go. And there was actually an article that I read recently about condo buildings in France, which are actually being condemned right now because there's not enough money in contingency funds, and the people don't have the money to actually do the repairs that need to be done.
Yeah, and if you have certain things like a roof collapsing or a brick wall falling, then the city condemns the building or could condemn the building, and you don't want to find yourself in that situation.
Exactly, absolutely. Okay, I just wanted to touch on that a
No,
little.
absolutely. It's really important. Obviously, for new construction, you won't have those types of issues yet because it's brand new. The contingency fund is being built up. But when you're buying new construction, you have to have a little bit of vision. You're buying something on paper.
Exactly.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Some people like to see it with their eyes. They like to touch, to feel, to have, to see the building itself. So you do have to have a little bit of imagination and be okay with hoping to get what you bought on paper.
Exactly. And that's why buying on plans sometimes is like you said, it's not for
everyone. It's not for everyone. I'll admit that I'm not so comfortable with that idea myself. I like to walk into a house, feel the energy, see the sun coming in. So buying on plans is harder for me. And I know some people who absolutely love it. To them, it's like a blank canvas and they can do whatever they want. And also we have to remember that we're not architects. When you're looking at plans, are you reading them right? Are you looking at it properly? Are the walls the interior walls or the exterior walls?
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second, because a lot of times I have clients, they're going to buy a new construction, we get the financing for them, we get it all lined up, and then I'll get a call from them 6 months later and they'll say, oh my God, I just did, I calculated the square footage of my condo. Let's say they're buying like a 700 square foot condo, and it's not actually 700 square feet, it's actually smaller. And they're like, can I go after the builder? I'm getting all these questions. And the answer is
no.
What's going on there?
What's going on is you're not looking at the plans properly. We have to remember those lines, they're going to add on top of that sheetrock, ducts, electricity, there's
conduits, all
kinds of things that are going to be added. And it will take away from,
your square footage,
a few inches from each wall. So you have to be okay with that. Sometimes some builders will actually draw it in a way that is more explanatory. Well, it's not the builder themselves, but they're architects. But you have to remember, whatever you're looking at on paper, you have to ask the right questions to make sure that you're thinking about all these things.
So although you're buying a condo that's 700 square feet, for example, what's actually being delivered or what you're going to actually have as living space be a little bit reduced because of the conduits, because of everything that's in there. So you need to be aware of that.
If it's not explained properly on the plans. If the plans are explained properly, you'll have the right square footage on it. So it all depends how the builder set it up. You do have to ask the right questions. There's no standard in the sense of, every builder uses a different architect, so you have to make sure that you're just asking the right questions. Is this included? Is that included? Is what I'm seeing, is that the final, are those the walls? Is that the size of the room?
So now, I mean that, you're focus is so much on the real estate side, and this is what you see. What I see on my side, on the mortgage side, is challenges that people have with their financing. So you go in, you buy a pre-construction. Every date is scheduled for now. You go to the mortgage broker, you get financed for it, and the bank or the mortgage broker is going to say yes, no problem, you're approved. But, and this is where the but comes in, if there's a material change in your situation in that time from where you originally signed that preliminary contract to the time of delivery, all of a sudden that approval might not be valid anymore, depending on who did it and how it was done. And these are things that people need to be aware. If you're not aware of it, it can actually catch you by surprise. Because we've had clients, especially this year with COVID,
Oh my goodness.
where people have lost their jobs. Condos were delayed more and more and more and more. And then all of a sudden, come time for delivery, you go and you start looking at retail and doing things properly. And then there's no they can't get financing.
Yeah. And
So
they're
now-
surprised because they had an approval.
Yeah, but they know, the clients know that there's a material change. And some builders are understandable in it and others are not, right? So you can do certain things until you kind of get more stable. Some builders will be understanding. I've even seen some builders finance it themselves, okay? But you do have to be aware that what you get pre-approved for, or what you get approved for originally when you're signing that preliminary contract, could change down the line.
And in the
Right.
builder's defense, they've signed a contract with you, you've committed, you've given a deposit. In their defense, it's sold on paper. So, they're counting on you figuring out your situation if there is a material change, whether it's get a co-signer, whether it's find another job, whether it's put a bigger down payment, whatever you need to do. They're counting on you to fix that. You've committed to something. It's a binding contract.
Exactly. My big challenge is, binding, and I'm watching my
You're
words
an
here.
advocate for the client.
I am an advocate for the
I know,
client because, unfortunately, this year is a unique year, but
Yes.
this year is not the only year. We see delays and delays and delays, and anyways. When we come back, we're going to be looking at delivery delays and how to be better prepared for them. Your Estate Show on CJAD 800.
You're listening to The Real Estate Show with your real estate and mortgaging team, Terry Kilakos and Merav Marciano on CJAD 800.
You're listening to The Real Estate Show, and today we're talking about new construction condos and what it is you need to know. You can call us at the office at 514-680-4674, and you could reach us by visiting us online at nordest.ca as well. If you haven't done so, take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is newsonthego.ca. So before we went to news, we were talking about delivery delays.
Yes.
Delays in delivery are normal in some cases. It's a common thing.
Yeah.
And people really need to be prepared, for stuff like that. And like I said, some of the delays are caused, this year they were caused by COVID. But before that, we've seen, strikes happen. We've seen all kinds of things that occur that all of a sudden, delivery is supposed to be, June 1st. And then we see the delivery happening in September.
Yeah, and we have to remember there's so many coordinated contractors working on this project. So you can have delays in sheetrock and ductwork and electricity and brick and poured concrete. Anything can cause delays. So we have to be understanding also there's sometimes situations that are outside of the builder's hands which create the delays.
So this is why, we always say it's important that when you're buying a new construction, you have to be aware of that. You have to be ready for it because you never know how much of a delay is going to come in. So, if you're renting a place from someone, maybe it's a good idea to say, yes, I'm not going to be renewing the lease, but maybe I'll go from on a month-to-month lease, because I've seen clients where they issue, basically saying we're not renewing the lease, and delivery date comes along, and it's pushed, and now the clients are like, "Oh my God, I have
gave up my apartment.
I gave up my apartment. I don't know what to do." So now all their stuff has to go into storage. Now all of a sudden you end up in a situation where the clients might have to go live with their parents, or they have to go in a hotel. I saw this year time and time again, clients actually having to go and live in a hotel. And there's a couple of builders out there that, because of the delays, they've done pre-occupancies where they'll allow people to come in. But then that causes another slew of issues where you're basically living in a construction zone.
And we have seen builders allow you to move in if it's certain common areas that are not finished.
Yeah.
If it's the lobby that's not finished, the parking lot is not finished. And that's a common thing, because they'll say your unit is ready, but just mind...
The pool is not.
Yeah, the pool is not. The
gym
is not,
yeah.
etc. So I think that's more acceptable.
Yeah.
With respect to your unit, I do agree that if you've given up your apartment, if you've sold your house, if, it does cause an issue. So I'd rather have that 1 month extra, 2 months extra, where you have the potential of extending your lease by a month or two, versus being homeless or having to live with your parents or in a hotel.
Any builder that's listening to what I'm saying right now is probably going to send me a whole bunch of hate mail, but I'm going to say it anyways because I am an advocate for my clients. Don't forget, when you're signing a preliminary contract, it's a contract between you and a builder to have them deliver a unit at a specific date and time. Okay. And Merav is she's looking at me right now. She's like, don't say
print.
it. Yeah, there's fine print, but don't forget, these contracts need to be read. Yeah. You need to look through them. And if there's something that you're not comfortable with, put it in, right? Or if you want a guarantee of a delivery date, put it in. And if you don't actually, if they can't deliver it, what are the what repercussions would the builder face against you?
Yes, would he compensate you to go live in a hotel? Would he? Yes,
exactly.
I get it.
So
it makes sense. I have to say that I do agree with that. It would be the fair thing to do. If I can't deliver on the date that I promised, here's what I'm going to do for you.
Exactly. And if you don't put that in at the get-go, trust me, it gets a lot harder to do that later on.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's very, very important that when you are actually buying a property and it's a new construction, make sure that you read your contracts well. Make sure that you do your due diligence on the builder. Make sure that you look at their track record for deliveries, all those things. And if you want to put that extra layer of security, put in a clause for delivery that says that if the unit is not delivered on this and this date, that this is going to be what's going to happen. This is what the builder is going to have to do for you.
I think that you touched on a good point to research the builders. We see so many condo projects going up. Yeah. And if you deal with a renowned builder, and there's, it's a handful, or it's maybe 2 handfuls in Montreal, builders that, they deliver on time, they deliver quality, they deliver condos with home warranties. It's a condo that you can trust that is quality.
Right.
I think that's important because a lot of us, we focus on price. But if, you have a situation in the condo, it's not properly insulated, or you have a pipe issue or anything like that, I don't know if a low price was such a good idea at that point.
Absolutely. Let's you mentioned price. Let's jump to something else here, okay? And let's talk about what you initially say that you're going to pay for something, and what ends up happening by the time delivery rolls around, right?
I'm a woman, so I know that. It's a little bit extra for the nicer tiles.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more for the granite.
Exactly. So it's not just women. I'm I like my fancy stuff too. Okay. So we're not going to say that it's only the women that say that. I do it as well. Okay. But it could be a problem. Yeah. Right. So let's say you come in as a first time, forget about first time. Let's say you're buying a new construction and you sign your preliminary contracts. You put in certain things in there. You go and you get your financing. Financing gets approved based on what you've put in. Okay. So what was on that preliminary contract? Now, along the way, you decide, you know what? I don't want this type of counter. I want that type of counter. I don't want this. I want, home automation. I want them to put curtains. There's about 1,000,001 things that people will improve. So add-ons, if you will, additions,
you can
right?
move a wall from here to there. You can,
Yes.
yeah.
And I've seen additions that were $10,000, and I've seen additions that were $60,000, $70,000. If you were at the limit on the original approval, you do understand now, all of a sudden, you're in a position where these additions can actually jeopardize your actual buying power, right? You might not qualify to add those extra additions on. And people don't think about that because they're like, well, I'm approved. No.
You weren't approved for that extra 60,000.
Exactly.
I get it.
So before you go and you commit to adding a whole bunch of stuff to your condo, it's important that you have the conversation with your bank or with your mortgage broker and say, hey, by the way, I'm planning on doing this. Will my numbers still work? What are the payments going to be like? And if you're comfortable with it and it all works, go ahead, do it, knock yourself out. But if it doesn't work, you need to rethink it and you need to readjust. Because as at the end of the day, what ends up happening, it all comes down to your ratios, right? And we've talked about this. Indebtment ratios are key. And if you surpass them, all of a sudden you can find yourself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and not everybody has the extra down payment to put to compensate for that. So
Exactly.
you do have to mind that. I have to agree with that point, especially if it was tight to begin with.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing is that, some builders are going to tell you, for you to use their own bank, right? And, we can talk about it a little bit after traffic, but this is something that comes up more and more and more often. And I want to kind of shed some light on it. When we come back, we're going to be looking at getting financing from the builder's bank and title insurance. Now we're off to the CJAD Traffic Center.
You're listening to The Real Estate Show with your real estate and mortgaging team, Terry Kilakos and Merav Marciano on CJAD 800.
Thanks for tuning in. Today's talk is about buying new construction condos and what to expect. Don't forget, you could reach us at the office at 514-680-4674, or you could visit us online at nordest.ca. Sorry, we have a lot of fun during the break, so when I come back, I'm all giddy. Okay, so before we went to traffic, we were talking about, some builders will impose that you use their bank or their financing, or you're going to end up paying a penalty. So this is often due to, the construction loan for the condo project is being with that bank, right? And the bank is imposing that the builder actually provides them with X amount of mortgages out of that project.
Yeah, I think imposing is a bit of a harsh word. I think it's more of a sort of the package, the way that it was set up.
Absolutely.
We'll give you the construction loan to build this project, but in return, we'd love to have, we'd love to do the financing for those condo units for your buyers, which I think it's a fair thing to ask for.
It is.
They're lending you millions of dollars to build this project. It makes sense. Now, of course, certain situations, we've seen people who need specific programs that some banks don't offer, or they need alternative financing or anything like that. So you end up sometimes where the bank that the builder is dealing with might not be able to provide financing to
100%.
that person, and they would need to go to another bank. And some buyers also just feel comfortable with their banker or their broker. So is it fair to charge a penalty?
Well, the penalties generally, okay, so a lot of times what the builder is going to say, if you use our bank, we're going to cover your notary fees. If you don't use our bank, you have to pay your own notary fees. So that's the typical penalty that I see that a builder kind of imposes on people. The banks do give incentives to the builders, okay, to actually make sure that those mortgages go to them. But in many cases, when you go to a mortgage broker, or you go to your own bank even, you can get that perk, right? A lot of times what happens is the builder's bank might actually be charging you a higher interest rate than what you would be able to get somewhere else. And when you do the calculations, you find out that your bank or your mortgage broker is able to provide you with something that's much better than what the builder's bank was able to provide
I get it. So it's worth paying the penalty for getting something that's customized to you and
Exactly.
Possibly at a lower rate as well.
Exactly.
I get
And it all comes down to dollars and cents. And this is one of the things that I always tell my clients. It's black and white. There's no real gray zone in these calculations. It's simple math, right? Let's say, you have to pay $1,200 for notary fees, as an example. But the rate that the bank is giving you from the builder is 20 basis points higher than what you would be getting from your broker or from your bank, right? Now, all of a sudden, when you do that calculation, you realize you're saving, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 over the term of the mortgage. So a good broker or a good banker is going to be able to give those calculations to you and actually properly educate you to make sure that you're actually on the right track. Right? Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to bring up an important point, Terry. Title insurance.
Yeah.
New construction. How important is title insurance?
Paramount.
Paramount. So let's explain what title insurance is and where do you get it?
So typically the notary is going to be the one that's going to be setting up the title insurance. And guys, don't be afraid, okay, or don't be ashamed to ask the notary to provide you with 3 different quotes of title insurance. There's 3 main title insurance companies in Canada. There's FCT, Chicago, and Stewart. Okay. Yeah. So those are typically the ones that the notaries will use. The notary is the one, again, that gets that title insurance for you. And they all have different prices. It could be as low as, $150, and I've seen them as high as $800-$900. But it's a one-time fee. You pay it once at the beginning when you get your mortgage and you're protected.
What does it protect?
So it'll protect you. And in new constructions, you're saying, why do I need protection? Well, title insurance is going to protect you against liens that are put on your condo by subcontractors. So your builder is not the guy that's going to be doing the tile work. He's not the electrician. He's not the plumber. He's not the guy that's putting down the flooring. He is, I guess you can say, the overseer of all these tradespeople. Mm-hmm. When the condo is delivered, if these tradespeople, for one reason or another, are not paid, and it happens, I can't tell you how many people are probably listening to this going, oh my God, I wish I had title insurance. What happens is these tradespeople, if they're not paid, they have 30 days to go and put a lien on your condo, and now you're responsible for paying it.
They put the lien on the entire condo projects, which in turn puts a lien on your condo.
They'll put it on the whole project, but they actually can put it specifically on your unit. Because if your unit is not paid, if those things are, now all of a sudden you find yourself with, $2,000 for this guy, $10,000 for this guy.
We've seen it.
Yes.
And you're on the hook as
exactly.
the buyer, because a lot of us think, well, it's not my problem. It really is our problem as the buyer.
100%. And if you have title insurance, your title insurance will actually protect your title and will pay out these tradespeople. And then your title insurance will actually go after the builder to collect the money. Don't expect that you're going to be able to go after the builder. The builder can go bankrupt, right? Knock on wood. But yeah. They could go bankrupt. So you want to make sure that you have that in place. It's not expensive. Get the different quotes and make sure that you're well. Yeah, it's paramount. You're well protected, because if you're saying it'll never happen to me, it could happen to you, because I've seen it. And I had a case a couple of years ago with a client. I swear the client left. I cried. They bought a condo. They put 5% down. Within 30 days of actually being in the condo, they get bailiffs. Literally bailiffs showing up at their door, being given papers saying that you owe this. And they're like, what are you talking about? I paid for my condo. I bought it. No, the builder didn't pay us. You have to pay us, because the work was done in your unit. Right? And when you're dealing with banks that are outside of the builder's circle, okay, so I'm not, if you're dealing with banks that are not, how can I say it, with the builder, what ends up happening is they won't put certain restrictions for the builder. But if you come to me, what's going to happen is the bank that we're going to be dealing with is going to say either we're going to do we're going to withhold funds, and we're only going to give the funds to the builder 31 days after to make sure that these sub-trades are paid, or what they're going to do is they're going to force title insurance. So it's very, very, very important.
I'm glad we brought that up, because that's the utmost protection. And also the other protection is having a home warranty on your new construction.
Absolutely.
Make sure the builder is offering you that, because in the first 5 years, if something happens, some of them go as far as 7 years.
Yeah.
And some, we've even seen 10 years. You really have to have some sort of warranty.
Absolutely. We've run out of real estate. Guys, if you need to reach us, you can reach us at the office at 514-680-4674. And if you want to reach us online,
at www.nordest.ca.
Till next week, everyone. Have a blessed week. Love you all.